name is Julia Erikson, and I'm going to talk to you all today a little bit about NRHS, and specifically Wichita Valley NRHS. Can I see a show of hands of anybody who knows what NRHS is? Oh, wow, very good. Very good. Dan, you know about it because I mentioned. Well, let me tell you, get started, for those of you who don't know anything about NRHS, I'm going to go over a little bit about its history. NRHS was started many years ago by a group of gentlemen who were really concerned about preserving railroad history and not losing it for future generations. It was started in 1935 as a membership organization, and I'm happy to report that 90 years later, it's still going. In fact, it's very healthy. We have over 19,000 members, and we have 127 plus chapters. That's across the United States, but we also have 2 international chapters, one in Canada and one in Japan. The NRHS is comprised of about 6 different buckets. Now remember I said when they started, they wanted to focus on preservation and restoration efforts to make sure that it was available for future generations. They started with developing documents, photographs, films, and they developed a rather extensive archive collection which they utilize and present on their YouTube channel. It's available for anybody to look at. Twice a year, they have conferences to keep the communication flow because 120 plus chapters, you can imagine, that's kind of an unwieldy group, right? And then nationally, they have a convention every year. That is an opportunity for voting members to set the future of NRHS. Historic plaques is something that is kind of neat. Now, I know probably a lot of you are familiar with Landmark Commission. You've seen them on dedications on buildings. NRHS provides similarly styled plaques for anything railroad. Heritage grants, that's a big one for NRHS. That is basically providing funding for restoration projects. This year alone, it's going to be $150,000. Rail Camp USA, I will talk to you a little bit more about that. That's something that's near and dear to my heart. But it is an educational opportunity for high schoolers to get exposed to railroad information and possible careers. Well, hold on. There we go. It's okay, Gordon. So, remember I told you the story about how a bunch of guys got together and started NRHS? Well, 3 guys and a woman got together to start the Wichita Valley Chapter. It was our desire to bring people together to not only learn about Texas rail history, but importantly, how to pool resources and save pieces of rail history in this part of Texas. And all the while, to have fun. It's important to us that we provide chapter members an access to attend different events, and we'll go into that in a moment. So, this small group of people that wanted to start the Wichita Valley Chapter include yours truly, our founder, Steve Allen Goen, that you're going to hear his presentation in a moment. Steve is not a lightweight.
No, I'm not. lack in this organization.
He does a couple of things. One, he serves as our president, but also as our program director, our resident historian, and he's a published author and acclaimed speaker. But he's published 13 books.
13, I'm working on 14.
And so we're very happy that he's leading us in our endeavor. The red-headed guy in the back, you probably all know, is Corinder Taylor. He too is also a historian. And I'm very, very happy to say that he's also our national delegate to NRHS. So why am I happy about that? Because we have a direct link through him to speak on behalf of our chapter and be a voice up to national. So whatever we have as concerned members, he takes that and is our voice. In his spare time, he's also the director of the Abilene Railroad Festival. My better half, who was really sorry he couldn't join us today, is my husband, Mike Erikson. Mike serves as our treasurer, and he loves history, and in his downtime, he travels the globe as a marketing manager. And then yours truly, myself, I enjoy developing nonprofit organizations. I love trains, and I serve as your vice president and acting secretary.
You left that one.
What?
And Marcia Goen, who makes sure that I get to come to this.
Marcia Goen keeps us all together in many fronts. Thank you, Marcia. So our mission for our chapter is not much different than that of the National Society. We are very focused on preserving, protecting, and sharing memories of railroading. But our concentration is in Texas and southwestern Oklahoma. So why call it Wichita Valley? Well, the Wichita Valley line, which Steve pointed out on our trip down here, the different areas about where it crossed and where it ran under, it's currently under the highway, was a family of 5 affiliated short lines called the Wichita Valley Line, which connected a lot of area from Wichita Falls to Waurika, Oklahoma, and down to Abilene. I'm sorry for my throat. I just got back from Colorado and I don't think I've adjusted to the climate change. Our territory is rather expansive. Right now, the Wichita Valley Chapter covers 11 counties. That's 10 in Texas and 1 in Oklahoma. And I'm happy to say that we're growing. We've actually been approached by different areas who want to have the kind of support that we're going to offer them in trying to preserve their railroad history, buildings such as depots. This is only a small sampling of some of the grand plans that we have come up with for our chapter. That includes monthly meetings like this. We're based primarily in Wichita Falls because Steve and I live in Wichita Falls. But our intent is to take our presentations on the road, to bring railroad history directly to you. Because it is 11 counties, and there is quite an expanse in those 11 counties. We will be developing a digital newsletter that's going to highlight and celebrate hands-on opportunities for restoration of projects. Steve just took me to Seymour, and it broke my heart to see the condition of the depot.
I gave her the guided tour.
It will also talk about different historical articles and will represent, the actions of people all along the Wichita Valley line. We've requested monies for something called an RPO fund. And an RPO fund stands for Restoration, Preservation, Operation. Basically what that is just monies that would be easily accessible to dispense within our chapter for restoration and preservation projects. We wouldn't have to go through a formal grant application process. We also have fun. We have a trip coming up in June that's posted, the details will be posted on our website, that we're actually going to take the Heartland Flyer from Oklahoma City down to Fort Worth, and then back up to Oklahoma City to see the train museum there. And then, of course, Coroner's Project, the upcoming Abilene Railroad Festival. You'll hear me talk about in a minute in more detail about Rail Camp, but we hope to be sponsoring at least one student to be able to go to Rail Camp this next summer. We also are collaborating with Operation Lifesaver Certification. I know we see a lot of train accidents that happen because people don't pay attention to crossing guards. So it's a personal mission of our chapter to make sure that people are equipped to become certified and instructors. And there are very, very good for the teachers or the people who know teachers in this room. They have very nice modules that can be taken into the classroom. So we're aligning ourselves with that entity. And then I see Dan in here, so we want to promote model railroading wherever we can. So how do we think that we're going to accomplish all this? Well, just like National, our chapter is a membership-based organization. So that actually is driven by you. If you join our chapter, you help fund the activities that I've touched on. For our youth, we do provide a discounted membership fee because we don't want it to be prohibited for our young people. If I had to coin one word about our chapter, I would say it's proactive. So I'm just kind of gonna go over how quickly we pulled things together. In late summer, we started trying to decide, what can we do? What can we do to try to help in our area, our part of Texas? And we requested a charter from National, and in September, well, late August, early September. At the end of October, we received that charter. We decided it was a good thing for our membership if we became a nonprofit organization, a tax-exempt organization. In early January, we were awarded that designation from the state Secretary of State's office. Thanks to Coroner and the efforts of Steve and Mike, we have completed our social media presence with email, website, and Facebook presence. As I said, if you ever want to know what's going on, check out Facebook or website, and that'll give you the most current changes. To date, this is our fourth program. First out of town. So we've been busy. We've been busy not only in promoting the chapter, the history behind the railroads, but also just taking our voice to the road, taking it to the people. Very recently, because of how big our area is, we're also employing Zoom capabilities for members. So if you want to just tune in, you can, and see what's going on, and you can hear the presentations yourself. And I want to touch just briefly on something that just happened to us. As a new chapter, we had the capability of drafting endorsement letters for projects. It was very last minute, but because we worked so well together as a team, we were able to do this, not only for the restoration of a World War II troop.
Army troop sleeper.
Yeah, in Wichita Falls for the restoration of that car, as well as an assist for a Burke Burnett MKT train depot.
You've got a picture of that up there.
This little depot is just as cute as a button, but it's got 18 windows, 11 that are very large, that are sagging into the wall because of the rotting frames. It's very expensive. They have bids for restoration in excess of $60,000. So at last minute, I had gone up and given a presentation to their Heritage Society about NRHS. And they decided very last minute that they wanted to apply for a grant. So we worked, Coriander, how late did we work?
Late,
Late.
late.
Yeah.
And we were able to get it submitted. So, we're keeping our fingers and toes crossed that they'll get some money, and also the Railroad Museum in Wichita Falls will get some as well. So as I said, our updates on our activities are posted on our website, but we're so happy to be here. This is our first
Road trip.
road trip. And we're tickled to be here to have a chance to present this to you. In March and April, we're planning on being back in Wichita Falls, but we were talking on the road that we may do something else.
I think March will be back in Wichita Falls, April, I don't know.
In May, we're gonna come back out your way. And Coriander is working on that right now about if it's gonna be in Haskell or Seymour. In June, again, I wanted to remind you that we're taking an Amtrak, the Heartland Flyer, on a little trip, which will be fun. And these are just a few of the things that we have planned for the rest of the year.
Let me interject, that Heartland Flyer trip, if you do all of it, the train rides are gonna be on a Saturday. We're gonna board at Oklahoma City, ride to, Fort Worth, get off, eat, you'll have a couple hours. Then we'll catch the northbound and go right back to Oklahoma City. You'll spend the night somewhere in Oklahoma City, and then on Sunday, we're going to the Oklahoma Railroad Museum. And so, and you're on your own, and what else? That's basically it.
Right now,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what we're.
And then we just have to put up with me on the train.
Now, remember I talked to you guys a little bit about Rail Camp. I mentioned that earlier. What is Rail Camp? Well, this was a program that was started by NRHS about 24 years ago, and it was intended to help stimulate interest for young people. What it is a week-long, fully immersive camp experience for these kids, and I mean, it is phenomenal opportunity to expose a young person to the railroad industry. Because they get to do everything. They get to drive diesel and steam engines. They get to dispatch and schedule. They get to take car maintenance classes, coupling, uncoupling cars, the back shop tours. I mean, it's the whole 9 yards. When I was growing up, we didn't have anything like this. So I'm really excited about this because there's going to be 2 camps coming up in June. One is on the West Coast in Tacoma, Washington, and the other one's in Newark, Delaware. The one in Tacoma, Washington, I'm not sure why they only allow 12 students, but they double that amount in Delaware. So, you know, depending on which part of the country that you may want to send a kid to. Well, let's talk a little bit about eligibility, cost, and application. So even though the previous picture showed a bunch of boys, I assure you that this camp is open to both male and female students. As long as you're a high schooler, registered as a class of 2025 effective. The starting age is roughly 13, 14, and the cost is $15.75. But now let me say, that's for a week long, that's to and from airport transfers, week-long housing and all meals, and an annual membership into NRHS. In 24 years of this program being in existence, no student has ever been turned away for lack of being unable to pay. So in this group, if you have kids, grandkids, even great-grandchildren, I really, really want you to encourage you to talk to those kids, especially if they have any interest in trains. Because I get asked all the time, why can't we have something like this for adults? Okay, and that will be Coriander's job at the National Convention to see if we can get one going. Because, yeah.
Hey, Coriander, I am available for adoption.
I was just
I'll throw that out there.
I've got the application in the back.
Okay.
And this, it used to be kind of process, I won't say it's a short application, but it is online now, so it makes it easier to complete that application and to submit it. And by the way, you have people here that can help you, either in person or on the phone or whatever, to help walk you through that application process. That's something that we want to do. If you bring us a kid, we're gonna help you.
I'm gonna go ahead and also add, one of my goals is that, you notice that those camps, far west coast, far east coast, one of my goals is to get a camp set up for the Midwest. And we're just too new of a chapter to pull it off, but
We've only been around a few months.
a few months.
Fort Worth would be nice, wouldn't it?
It would be great.
Set something up in Fort Worth,
It would be
centrally located.
It would be great. But I don't want the fact that we don't have something centrally located to dissuade you. Because it's just once a year that these kids get to go. So with that said, the application deadline is approaching. It's actually on April 1st. And you can see the time range for the classes. They're one's a day apart, but basically it's towards the end of June. So I know I've given you a lot of information, but remember, we are a membership chapter, and if you'd like to join us, we would love to have you. And I assure you that you would be fully supported by us for any projects that you're interested in trying to preserve, restore, or elevate to somebody's attention to get some help.